Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. Fuck ice, I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And today I was hit with a little bit of a thing of which one should I review. I've read quite a lot of comics, and as much as I really did enjoy Absolute Catwoman, I might talk about that later, I'm going to review Order, which I think is just called Order, not even The Order. And this one, I feel like I had more to say about it because it didn't work for me quite so much when it should have done. And I've talked about this kind of thing before in the fact that there's an awful lot of comics out there which I agree with the ideology, I like the writer, I like what they're doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to like the comic. Quite often I do because the kind of people creating those comics are pretty damn good. Like Cody Ziegler's Spider-Punk. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely an anarchist story, really, really good like layout of what it means to be fighting authoritarianism, but it is also Cody Ziegler, who's a great writer and a fantastic comic book. Order got close. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff I like about it, and I am going to start with the things I liked about it. For instance, the core concept, yes, I am going to be in favour of any comic book story which talks about what it is like to live under authoritarianism and how we fight against it rather than submit to it. That is fine and dandy-o. And I really like the first page of this wonderful setup of a techno-gothic horror with the ruling class, an individual of the ruling class, looking to be beyond even parasitic and into vampiric. And I'm like, yep, okay, cool, I'm on board, let's see how this plays out. But it didn't take long for me to kind of lose interest in this one. And I'm not going to lie, even that first page to a certain degree, because the artistry, it did some stuff that let me down. I mean, first off, the computer colouring, I assume computer, I'm hoping it's computer colouring, not great. Sometimes felt like there was a bit too much effort put into making it not look flat, so it looked too busy. It is also overall quite mushy. There's a fairly manky industrial brown to it. Reminds me of like an awful lot of video game critics talk about like the early 2000s over the shoulder third person shooter kind of thing where everything was a different shade of brown, and I'm like, yeah, actually I'm getting that from here. It's not exclusively, don't get me wrong, that first page did have some pop, but later on I find like stuff, my eye just kept being lost on the page. The line work wasn't terrible, not brilliant, don't get me wrong, but not bad enough that I was like just instantly turned off by the art. But I was just losing interest in it because it looked so drab, so uninteresting, and that's not good when you're trying to do kind of a biting story. Unfortunately, the story is also a little bit of a letdown. Don't get me wrong, like I say, there's a lot I do like about it. Even the fact that it is wearing its influences front and center. I mean, yeah, 1984, 100%. You can see so much of that on there. Not just that, but like you got to go to V for Vendetta and maybe even a little bit of Children of Men, which are obviously both inspired by the idea behind 1984. And I don't mind a comic creator or any creator of art and media looking at something that good for inspiration, particularly in the world we're living in at the moment. It feels like a great thing to do, to look at how that kind of storytelling didn't get that close in certain ways because we've gone beyond it. And that means, yeah, tell a big over the top story, have it as an interplanetary thing, have aliens, have vampiric ruling classes, really, really push it, but don't lose this point. It ended up being, if anything, a little bit cliche filled. I mean, in terms of script, yes. I mean, some of the writing was not fantastic. At one point, I think there's a line, something along the lines of, I'm not going to leave you, I just love you too goddamn much. And I'm like, come on, fellas, that feels like the kind of straight to Prime Video, very weirdly high budget action adventure, which is bad. But in terms of the actual message of the story, in that there is this authoritarian thing and fighting against it, I just felt like it was more vague. It wasn't subtle. There wasn't nuance. There wasn't anything where I could like look at the various people who exist in the world and try and figure out like their point of view and why they are struggling to exist in the way they are and the battles they're choosing to fight. It just felt like, yeah, authoritarianism is like, it's really bad, guys. Like, look at all these terrible things that happen because of authoritarianism, and look at all these people who like really, really doubt it. It's bad, isn't it? And I'm like, 10 pages in, going, yeah, I don't need to have that as like the entire message of. I'm on board with that. Get me more of what it's like to be struggling, and the main characters get given an opportunity to do this kind of thing. And it feels like we spend far too long with them going, oh, I suppose I better, even if it's just for a really selfish reason, which doesn't really vibe with the world that we've created. And I was like, yeah, cool, well done. This is very entry level and didn't even look good enough to capture me and make me carry on with it. And as a result, yeah, probably the only issue of this I'm going to read. That's it for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.